Chance? Mr. Chance is also on the platform, Chair. Those are all members currently on the platform.
No, thank you very much. Can you fly to the agenda? Thank you very much, colleagues, and good morning. You are all welcome. Can we get the move and seconder for the agenda?
Chairperson, I move for the adoption of the agenda.
Thank you very much.
I second, Chair.
Thank you very much. The agenda has been seconded. Thank you very much, colleagues. Let me take this opportunity to greet the delegation from the Department of Trade and Industry Competition, greet the delegation of NAFCOC, great agencies, and lastly, greet our colleagues from Parliament. Are there any apologies, Andre?
Chair, Mr. Makutu just joined us as well. No apologies at the moment, Chair.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, on the 21st of October 2025, the Speaker of the National Assembly referred a petition from NAFCOC to the Committee for Consideration and Report back. In its petition, the NAFCOC requested an urgent engagement with the committee, as well as the intervention with regard to issues pertaining to the Industrial Development Corporation perceived deviation from its mandate and prejudice against black business. The purpose of today's meeting is to afford NAFCOC an opportunity to address the committee, as well as the IDC, to respond to some of the NAFCOC allegations, so that as a committee we're able to make a way forward and ensure that we can bring stability in the social, within the social partners in this regard. I will now request the leader of the delegation of NAFCOC, to introduce their delegation, and we will give them the time as allocated, and will indicate how much time is allocated to NAFCOC to present, and then we'll take it from there. And then the DTIC will also do the same together with its agencies. I'll now hand over to the delegation of NAFCOC. Andrew, how much time do we have?
Chair, we gave them a 40 plus minus 40 minutes, Chair.
Okay. Over to you now, leadership of NAFCOC.
Thanks, Chair. Let me greet all honorable members of Parliament and yourself, Chair, as the Portfolio Committee leader. With me, my name is Richard Zulu, the Secretary General of NAFCOC. With me, I'm with the President of NAFCOC, Mr. Gilbert Musina. The Executive Director of the School of Entrepreneurship, Dr. Tumane Kochen. We've got Mr. Mbawakaba, our communications head. We've got Ms. Manana Bukhosi, the Director of Engineering. We've got Mr. Kumzile Rama, Director, Makamisa Foods. And then Mr. Komutso Likola, Director, Beauty Industries. Ms. Apiwe Mawela, Director, US Craft. That's all we have in our application, Chair. I will therefore, I've introduced him by one of the communications head. I will therefore hand over. Sorry about that, Chair. Oh, I have also Terence Nicola, yeah, the Director of Makamisa Foods. Okay. Chairperson, I'm going to hand over to the President of NAFCOC just to greet the portfolio committee members and and outline the purpose of us meeting with yourselves. And then from there, I will hand over to Dr. Tumani Kocheni to do the presentation on our behalf. Over to you, President.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson of the committee, Mr. Mzwandile Masina, honorable members of the committee present here. We as NAFCOC appear before you today in a spirit of respect for Parliament's oversight, responsibility, and in recognition of the weight of this committee's mandate. This submission is made by the National African Federated Chamber of Commerce and Industry, which is NAFCOC, established in 1964, having been conceptualized as late as the 1940s in the imminent apartheid colonial government establishment. Historically, the African Traders Association, which is the precursor to NAFCOC, has been recognized as the institutional voice of Black business in South Africa and an unquestionable economic pillar of our struggle for liberation. Honorable members, you will remember
Honorable members, if you don't mind, you can also switch off the video so that we can hear you clearly from time to time, unless we're introducing a new speaker, so that your bandwidth.
Okay. I was saying, if the members of Parliament can recall, NAFCOC has over 6 decades been representing the African entrepreneurs and small business that were deliberately and legally excluded from the mainstream economy, and until to date are still discriminated by almost all commercial banks that we don't even own. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable members of Parliament, today NAFCOC has its fingers on the pulse and impacts of over approximately 2.3 million affiliated and associated Black enterprises in all the township and rural villages across all 9 provinces and multiple sectors of the economy. I must say, our founding fathers, the likes of Dr. Richard Maponya, Dr. Semu Tsenyane, and many, many others, anchored this organization in the belief that economic participation is inseparable from political freedom, but importantly, to the dignity of humanity. Today, history is in making. As Dr. Ntato Motlana once said, there is no force in the world that can stop an idea whose time has come. The economic freedom in our lifetime is a reality and is what we as NAFCOC are here for. Let us, together with the Parliament, our democratic government, move together. Honorable members, let me assure you that we do not appear here as complainants seeking confrontation. I know there are many people who do that through demonstration and whatever, which is their democratic right, but we decided to come here to engage with our portfolio committee and various stakeholders around it. We appear as the representatives of a distressed productive sector, small, medium, and micro enterprises mainly, and informal businesses, as well as Black industrial enterprises that sustain employment, households, and local supply chains since the 1652, since the 1910. since the 1948, since when we were established in 1964. By the way, NAFCOC created its own African bank, just to alert the members of parliament, in 1975, when it was not fashionable to do so. We produced and provided an economic blueprint at CODESA for those who were around, and spearheaded the introduction of BEE legislations, sector charters, which I believe one is taking place today, but as NAFCOC, we have not yet been invited. But we will march on. We still don't understand our deliberate exclusion from economic policy-making institutions like NEDLEC. We still don't understand why the Treasury, the Reserve Bank, cannot release the African Bank back to NAFCOC. We still, therefore, honorable members, cannot understand why NAFCOC cannot be a mandatory business chamber, and why the DFIs, in particular the IDC, cannot do to us what the Afrikaner government in 1948 did to the Afrikaners in this country. Lastly, we have received hundreds, if not thousands, of structured representations and or complaints from Black-owned industrial and commercial enterprises, all concerning the funding, the monitoring, and the recovery practices of the DFIs and IDC in particular. Let me therefore conclude by saying, if those are substantiated, these representations suggest a pattern that may contribute to enterprise contraction rather than enterprise growth. Our understanding is that developmental finance institutions exist to catalyze inclusive industrialization and unapologetically to advance rapid economic transformation. They are not commercial banks and should not hide behind their lenders or
So we can't hear. Yeah, if you can just start in the last sentence, we missed you.
I was saying these development institutions are not commercial banks and should therefore not hide behind international norms and standards. Remember, South Africa is one of the developing countries in Africa, and therefore there must be a deliberate way of decolonizing and democratizing the country. So the mandates of these developmental institutions in character and sequencing must be deliberate efforts to ensure that Black Africans actually advance in the space of economy. We therefore do not ask this committee to prejudge any institution. We do not allege any criminal wrongdoing at this stage. We do not seek blanket debt relief or defending poor management. The main thing we are asking is that parliamentary oversight should be robust and verify whether the funding practices remain aligned with their developmental mandates and are committed to advance the BEE policies and the constitution of the country. Our objective is therefore institutional strengthening. Our objective is mandate alignment. Our objective is the protection of South Africa's industrial capacity and ensure that economic emancipation happens in our lifetime. We thank you for the opportunity to present our concern and the cases that will be going along with the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Honorable Chair. If allowed, can I then give to Dr. Tumani Kocheni to do a presentation that we wanted to share with the portfolio committee? Thank you. Dr. Tumani.
So do I share this?
Thank you very much, SG. Greetings to the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable John de Lamasina, Minister Pax Tau, Deputy Minister Zuko, Godlibi, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee on Trade and Industry and Competition. Good morning. Introduction. My name is Dr. Tumani Kocheni, the Executive Director of NAFCOC School of Entrepreneurship in the Office of the Secretary General. The presentation outline, members, will be who is NAFCOC. I think that is what the President has actually talked to. And why are we here? Executive summary, NAFCOC general position, ITC mandate versus the reported reality, internal practice concerns, economic and social impact, analytic and recommendations and conclusions. Honorable members, as the President has said, NAFCOC, who are we and why are we here? NAFCOC is a National Federal Chamber of Commerce and Industry established in 1964 and has a footprint in all provinces with a regional and municipality present. It has almost 2 to 3 million affiliates and associates, and the main objective of the organization is to unite, promote, and develop Black-owned companies and small enterprises. Yes, SG.
Doctor, I see that Honorable Chair, the host has disabled participants screen sharing. I'm not sure whether you can see what we are presenting to you.
Chair, we need to, from NAFCOC, we need to know who is sharing, which computer is sharing, so we can give them sharing rights, Chair.
It's the one that says Komutso Lekola.
Couldn't hear clearly.
It's Nikula.
Komutso Lekola is the computer that is sharing.
Okay, let me just go there.
Thank you, Chief. You can continue, Dr.
Can you just spell me the surname? Because I'm not.
Lekola, Lekola.
Lekola. I do not have that person on the computer. LE.
Next to Sophia.
Lekula.
Yes.
Okay, give me a sec. You have hosting, yeah. Let me just do. You have hosting rights, so you should be able to share.
The main objective of the NAFCOC, yes, is to unite and promote and develop Black-owned companies and small enterprises. It is the voice of Black business. NAFCOC received multiple representations from its members and associates about ITC funding that is viewed to be misaligned with this funding mandate. Our understanding of the ITC's mandate is we understand ITC mandate as 1, to promote industrialization, 2, support Black industrialists, 3, provide developmental funding, 4, job creation. It is to drive sustainable industrial development, economic growth, and structural transformation. It is to foster industrial capacity and economic growth across South Africa and the rest of the continent. And why are we here? And then this is the understanding of the role of the portfolio committee. Our understanding of the portfolio committee is that according to the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa in 1996, the Constitution provides for the committee's powers to summon any persons or individuals to provide evidence for their obligations and to provide for public participation in the committee's activities. The cases, Chairperson, as it was indicated, we've got 5 cases that we want to present among other presentation we received. The case number 1 is the Brewer Starter Craft, which is an agro-processing and beverage manufacturing. It received an approval from IDC for the loan and equipment purchase of 6.7 million, and equipment in 2023 was sold for 1.3 million. So the equipment that was purchased, the 6.7 million, was sold as 1.3 million. The observed pattern, Chairperson, is that we actually look at the terms. We said observed pattern is that there's RMA, and I think the members would have seen in the document what does RMA means. It means the recovery, acceleration, and all the abbreviations are cited. And the CCM and AMR and RTM. In the impact of this is the loss of 50 trained brewers and 50 black-owned brands, and it's a loss of 5.4 million. And the case number 2 is Engineering LPG gas cylinder and manufacturing. IDC funded this organization with 191 million, and plus TTI gave it 28 million, which was the total of 290 million. The company was put on business rescue, and the observed pattern is POEM, CCM, RAM, AIM, and AMR. The impact then is about 86 jobs were lost, and 50 trade artisans lost their own participation. And as I indicated, is that the money then that was lost is about 219 million. And then the next one is Makanisa Foods, which is an agro processing. It also received 38 million from IDC and plus 38 million from DTI, and then also the COVID support for 10 million. The total amount was 66 million. What has happened was that transferred to around a turnaround unit. The business was transferred to turnaround unit. An observed pattern in this one is what we call DVM, RAM, IM, and LFRs. The impact then is 9 part-time people and 39 permanent jobs were lost, and 60 skilled labor. And then it means then therefore the whole 66 million was lost. Number 4 is Galvano Africa, which was a textile and fabric manufacturing plant that received the funding from Greencroft and African Bank of 114 million plus IDC of 60 million. In total, it received about 174 million. And then there's a letter of demand from IDC for the 52 million and some odds. And then the company placed under business rescue because did not pay the money. And assets eventually were sold for between 16 to 20 million. The assets that were worth 174 million. And that pattern is that RMA and CCM, DVM, AMR, and is the BT Industrial Group, which was manufacturing and industrial expansion. The company received from IDC 136 million and GS grant 198 million and EIP grant 60 million, total is 250. I must emphasize, Chairperson, that this company was self-funding before these grants were received. I want that to make sure that the committee understands that this company did not need the funding as it was given. Then after that, the ITC applied what is called NISI. And then the observed pattern is the POEM, CCM, RAM, IAM, AMR. A major impact is major industrial expansion impaired, and there was a loss of about $63 million of export opportunity and more than 1.9 billion commercial loss of pipeline. In a nutshell, in South African rands, what has gone down the drain is about 215 million. The impact, Chairperson, of all this that NAFCOC is presenting before you is the lost capital of about 679.4 million and the total earnings of more than 2 billion and the total jobs. If you calculate that the jobs that they lost were 1,373 and you times that by 8 because the African families look after 8 siblings, is a total of 10,984 jobs. And then in this slide, Chairperson, we are just showing the pattern that actually ITC, when it was formed, it had a responsibility of ensuring that it does not really look in terms of profitability other than sustaining the business growth. You can see there, I don't have to go to details, the years that it was so patient with other before 1994. While post 1994, it doesn't even take a year before it actually cannibalized the company. The recommendation that NAFCOC is presenting, Chairperson, to the Portfolio Committee is one, that the Portfolio Committee to constitute a parliamentary inquiry into the IDC recovery and liquidation practices affecting Black-owned businesses. We are specializing, we're talking about Black-owned businesses. We're not generalizing. Number two is to consider a time-bound moratorium on aggressive enforcement, asset seizures for distressed but viable enterprises. Three, to establish and implement an IDC development recovery charter, focus on restructuring before foreclosure and business rescue preference, and a patient capital principles and post-investment support. Four, establish an independent appraisal mediation mechanism, technical support with the representatives of business formations before liquidation process. Number five, must prepare an annual transformation impact report on funded, restructured, saved, liquidated, and give reasons for the liquidations, and also jobs created vis-a-vis job lost. Chairperson, in conclusion, Chairperson, we provided the committee with the information we received from our members and associates about how the IDC seemed deviated from its original mandate. We believe that these following practices by IDC justify our claim, namely, one, premature and early escalations, B, aggressive recovering without meaningful restructuring, C, commercial banking style enforcement, and D, job losses lying to liquidation accounts. Chairperson, we therefore as NAFCOC request that the Portfolio Committee on Trade, Industry and Competition to establish an inquiry to test the alignment between the IDC mandate and the practices and its outcome. Thank you very much. In that, Chairperson, we want to leave you with this. The committee will always remember, always bear in mind that the people are not fighting for ideas, nor for what it is men's mind. The people fight and accept sacrifices demanded by the struggle to gain material advantages, to live better and in peace, to benefit from the progress and for the better future of their children. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you for providing this opportunity to NAFCOC to listen to our plea. Vaya Tangi, Rialewocha, Siabole. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, good doctor. We will now immediately take the presentation from the IDC, and the delegation, I think, is led by the DG. So we'll also allocate you almost similar time. just to have your own presentation to allow the members to engage. I now hand over to the DG. You can also introduce the team.
Good morning, Chair, members of the Parliamentary Committee on Trade and Industry, the delegation of NAFCOC as led by its chairperson, and the colleagues online. Let me commence, Chair, by thanking you for this opportunity, but also thanking NAFCOC for taking this necessary step by engaging yourselves in an effort to ensure that the systems, the banks or DFIs as it were, the department fulfill their mandate within the context of a developmental state and the need for continued empowerment and economic growth. Please also accept apologies.
Chair? Excuse me, Chair?
Yes, who's that?
Chair, it's myself, Richard Zulu.
Yes,
I was requesting that we afford the business owners to just say their prayers in 2 minutes and also introduce themselves. I will start with, if allowed, Chair, I will start with Ms. Manana Bukhosi, the Director of MM Engineering.
Okay, let's do this. I was not aware. I thought there was one presentation. Let's do this. DG, apologies for that. I was not aware. Well, let's allocate the additional 10 minutes maybe to NAFCOC, and then you can call all the business owners that you need them to speak. And within that time period, because we've already exceeded the 40 minutes. Apologies, DG. I was not aware of this. Over to you, Bob Makel.
Okay, thanks. Let me then call Ms. Manana Bukhosi, the Director of MM Engineering, to just do a presentation, 2 minutes. Manana?
Thank you, Honorable SG. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee and your Honorable Committee members. My name is Manana Bukhosi. I'm the owner of MM Engineering. MM Engineering approached the IDC in 2008, seeking funding for manufacturing of the LPG cylinders within the country. 2015, we got an approval from the IDC after 7 years of engaging with the IDC. From 2015 to 2019, nothing happened within the IDC. We satisfied the CPs within 2016, and we were ready to start procuring the equipment from a technical partner in Turkey. 2019 funds were disbursed from the IDC. 191 was approved, but only 161 million was disbursed, and the remainder was held back by the IDC. And then 2019, during COVID 2020, IDC informed me that they are no longer interested in funding the project, and I was asked to go and look for funding elsewhere. I did that. I brought an investor, which is also a DFI, Afrexim Bank, onto the table, and they engaged with us, and then we requested meetings with IDC. There was early 2022 March. We had a solution and a ready term sheet from Afrexim Bank, but the IDC refused to engage with all of us. And same year, July 2022, IDC put the project onto business rescue. As I'm speaking to you, the project, the business is on business rescue, and early this year, they applied to the courts to liquidate the company. My prayer is that the project be given an opportunity to operate, because we never even got to a point where we had to operate the company. It was just terminated before, operations. And at the same time, IDCA requested that we repay their loans that were forwarded to us, but without operating and generating income. There's no way that the project would have been in a position to repay the loans. And we also asked for a moratorium on all the loans, but the IDCA, rejected my prayer. So today is just to ask the portfolio committee to look into our matter, and if possible, the project should be given another chance to operate, because this is a very strategic project for the industry, for the LP gas industry, because currently there's no one in the country that is manufacturing cylinders locally. Everybody is importing, and I still believe that there's a great opportunity for this project to transform the industry and empower SMEs that are battling to break into the LPG industry because of the red tape that is there. Because we all know that the industry is controlled by the four majors, and anybody that is smaller that doesn't have cylinders, there's no way that they will participate within.
Sorry, we're missing you, Madam.
Thank you, G. Thank you, the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Trade and Industry, Mzanile Masina, and honorable members of the committee. We are Makamisa Foods. We are funded under the Black Industrialist program, having benefited from the IDC and the DTIC. The monies have been stipulated there. I'm not going to dwell much on that. We are specifically contract manufacturers taking care of the so-called multinational brands. And we compete with only one company called Deacon Hall in the country, and we are the only black contract manufacturer of sauces in this country. The camel's back broke when we lost the famous brands as our anchor client, and then we swiftly moved to the IDC to request for the restructuring of the facilities after KFC and McDonald's, Nando's, Galitos, Impact, and others approached us, including Clover, to give us more business. And the IDC declined. They instructed us to go out and look for an equity investor, which finally secured this equity investor, and then they still declined to restructure. We also approached the Land Bank for financial support. As we speak, the Land Bank is about to conclude the due diligence process after 4 to 5 months post our application. The amount applied for sits at 59 million rand, and the Land Bank requires the IDC to make a commitment that they're not going to pull the plug. The IDC refused to meet for 6 months up until we escalate the matter with the office of the CEO, and we finally met in December, on the 8th of December, and the IDC still failed to make a commitment that they're not going to pull the plug. So our plea is for the IDC to openly and strategically support our project. We are not even asking for much. We are saying we would like you to restructure the facilities and give us a bit of time to rebuild the business, because the market is there. That is our special request to the portfolio committee, to relook and encourage the IDC to revisit our case and subsequently support this program, because we employ people from Tembisa and Alex. We don't have any privileged individual in our business. We have disenfranchised communities that we support, about 60 of those. Thank you.
Thanks, Terence. Chair, the next speaker, I will invite Mr. Khomotso Litola, Director of BT Industries.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. My name is Khomotso Litola. I am the founder and group CEO of the BT Industrial Group. We founded the company in 2017 And from 2017 up until our involvement with the IDC, we grew at a compound annual growth rate of 40% year on year, and we were profitable for 7 consecutive years. We, as a manufacturing business, export to 22 countries in Africa, Europe, and America. And if you've been to hospital in the last 3 to 4 years, you would have been treated with one of our medical patents, of which we've got 38 patents and trademarks. And we have over 300 registered products in the medical sector in the country. We were approached by the IDC, let me emphasize, in 2020, they offered us a loan. I rejected the loan. The DTIC pursued my business, 150 emails and 48 visits, as well as 20 specific requests for BT Industrial to be part of the Black Industrialist scheme, of which we were not because we were self-funded. The IDC then proposed 196 million rand funding package to us, of which 80 million would be made up of grants. On that basis, we agreed in 2022 and we signed the contract. Let me emphasize, we first rejected, but after persuasion from the IDC, this is important to understand, we then agreed. The reason we did not want the loan from the IDC is because we were clear and categorical that we did not need or want a loan. What we wanted was working capital finance. Nevertheless, we accepted, we started our expansion project only to find that the 80 million grants do not materialize. It eventuated that the 20 million was a design flaw by the IDC, a flaw which was admitted by IDC Director and Head of BIS, Susan Mangole, on record. Secondly, it was admitted as an error as a contractual. IC themselves, Ishrad, as well as Susan Mangole, indicated that Pharmadynamics, which was the grantee, was not allowed in law to be a participant on the EEIP, the Equity Equivalent Investment Program. We found ourselves 40% shortfall on a program of 196 million. Let me emphasize, that put us in a position where our cash flow was compromised. Secondly, our expansion project was compromised. We had to make decisions on expenditure, and as we understand, we were wrong for allocating certain budgets differently in order to cope with that. Nevertheless, I injected 15 million rand out of my other business, of which the IDC breached me for. We got a liquidation order against BT Industrial on the 10th of September, despite admissions by the IDC that it was not our fault, on record admissions. Secondly, this happened despite 1.3 billion rand in alternative funding offered to us by ABSA, Equity Bank, as well as African Bank and the NEF. The IDC chose to liquidate us despite 1.3 billion in alternative funding, plus an order book of 1.9 billion rand. In our view, it appeared that it was irrational and against the interests of the IDC itself. I suppose the committee can ask what rational basis was used in reaching that conclusion. Our prayer, we want our 1.9 billion rand back on the orders that we had, and we want the 60 million, which the IDC could have pursued Pharmadynamics for. Instead, IDC pursued a Black industrialist who, by their own admission, was in that position due to action by the IDC themselves. Questions have to be asked.
Thank you, Councillor. Chair, let me invite Musani Mawela, Director of Brewers Craft. I'm going to be strict with the last two colleagues, because I can see that colleagues are taking over time. Just 2 minutes.
Okay.
In fact, even a minute you can take.
Good morning, honorable committee members. My name is Apiwe Nusani Mawela. I'm the founder of Brewster's Craft. Brewster's Craft is a company that was established in 2015, whose sole mandate was operated a brewery, which was actually the first Black female-owned brewing company in South Africa, which also offered training, so an accredited training provider with the food best sitter. So we approached IGC for a funding loan, which was approved in 2018 for 10 million rand to set up our brewing plant in Johannesburg. The plant was commissioned in 2019 after a few delays in licensing and equipment sourcing. In 2020, 6 months into production, we were hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. And as we all know, the liquor industry was the hardest hit, where we had a total ban on alcohol sales, production, and distribution. I wrote to the IGC to request a restructuring of the loan, which was declined. In May 2020, my loan facility was due for deduction, and IGC went ahead and deducted every single month from then on, even though the company was not making a cent. I wrote to the IGC to request that obviously this was affecting the company's credit record and also just financial distress. In 2021, the matter was referred to the legal department within the IGC, where I met with the IGC to see how we could actually move past that issue. The company was then moved to a business rescue from January 2021 to June 2021. We went through a process of trying to turn around the business. And unfortunately, at that time, we were still coming out of the pandemic, and the liquor industry had not fully recovered. In June, the company was shut down, and the equipment was repossessed. The equipment sat in storage for 2 years and was later sold for 1.3 million, which was 20% less what it costed. I think I come to this committee having closed down the business in 2021, which from the previous presentation, we were incubating over 20 young owned business companies in South Africa. We were training young graduates in one of the scarce skills in the country. And to date, I have since then continued running the vision without the IGC support. And I'm not here today to ask the IGC to give back the money or fund the business, because the business had long closed. But I come to this committee to request that what happened to my business can never happen to another business in South Africa. And to also look at where we could have been.
So it's cut again. If you can just repeat.
Today, in South Africa, would have many more Black-owned beer companies. Thank you.
Thanks, Apiwe. The last one, Chair, will be Mr. Gilbert Musina, the shoulder representative of Galvano Africa Textile and Fabric Manufacturing.
Thank you, honorable members. Galvano Africa is a textile and fabric, meaning everything that we are wearing, everything that bulletproof or aeronautic engineering material. The company was bought by NAFCOC in 2021. It represents 9 provinces, trusts, and various sector trusts, more than 9. So it's a broad base. So the NAFCOC put 114 million into the company. Then we wanted working capital from IDC of 60 million, which they approved in that sequence. But hardly after 18 months, when the money was released, without obviously our knowledge as shareholders, it went straight to the landlord. And then after that, they will receive a letter of demand from the IDC, 52 million. And I must say that we challenge, but ultimately IDC has unilaterally once again sold the business to the landlord at 16 million, 16 million, a business that is worth 200 million, a business that the replacement cost is more than 500 million. So it's 100% owned by, as I say, our members. We have the manufacturing IP. This business is one of the 3 in the sub-Saharan Africa. Galvana was, of course, because of the IDC condition precedents, there was a misunderstanding, IDC interpreting its own CPs. They wanted us to put 10 million into the reserve fund, between 10 and 15, but we chose 10, and that was apparently our mistake. And when we're faced with a threat from the landlords, we put the business under business rescue. And I must report, honorable members, that the delay in the release of the working capital was a problem, which was done by the IDC itself. The IDC wanted us to get an equity partner of their choice, who must come with 48 million. And the IDC also rejected us appointing our directors, but they said they will appoint 2 directors, one to be the chairperson, one to be the expert in finance. But surprisingly, they released the money to the company without those directors having been appointed up to date. What we have observed is that the IDC is more focusing on recovery without first giving a technical, financial, and market support, because our company never worked. So in other words, we have lost that 170 something million, and the job lost is 480, and with a potential of increasing that to be more than 600 direct, but indirect jobs, we are talking 10,000 up to 30,000. So what we are requesting the committee to do is to request or instruct the IDC to reverse the sale, because the landlord who bought it at 16 million, he is now wanting to sell the company back to us at 120 million. Otherwise, the IDC will have to refund us replacement cost.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you for affording us this opportunity and time. I know we took a lot of time, and my apology for that. But thank you very much, Chair, and members of the Portfolio Committee.
Thank you very much, Makeba. We appreciate that. I think it will help us. Can we then quickly move to you, Director General, and then you'll take through the presentations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'll continue exactly where I had left off, which was to begin to apologize also for Minister and DM who were not able to join. I'm joined on the call by several officials from the department, as well as the IDC, and in the interest of time, will not introduce them individually. Honorable Chair and members and esteemed stakeholders, thank you for the opportunity to brief yourselves. The DTIC and the IDC welcome this engagement as part of ongoing commitment to transparency, collaboration, and accountability in advancing South Africa's industrial development agenda. The purpose of today's interaction is to provide a structured overview of the IDC's position on the matters raised by NAFCOC, and to discuss how best to reaffirm our commitment to transformation, mandate adherence, and responsible governance. The IDC Chair remains firmly aligned with the statutory developmental mandate, as well as all other key guiding documents, not the least being the National Development Plan. And it has a governance architecture that continues to ensure compliance and institutional integrity. As a department, we do note the concerns raised about alleged deviation from the mandate and the perceived bias. We also recognize the importance of accessibility and a suitable client experience. And to this end, the IDC commits itself to a strengthened end-to-end client relationship management approach, enhanced transparency measures, and proper tools to assess and assist Black businesses and all its other applicants. Chair, I'll allow the CEO to engage with the presentation that they've prepared. From the department side, we welcome NAFCOC for having taken this, and we avail ourselves as last afforded to them by the minister when they did meet. I do understand that the follow-on meeting that was meant to have taken place was not facilitated, and we apologize for that. And in order maybe to avoid having to make remarks after the IDC's presentation, we would request that at the earliest possible opportunity, either directly between the department and NAFCOC or as facilitated by the committee, that we have further discussions on how best to enable the requests that have been made, where it is legally possible and procedurally enabled to meet some of the pleas that were made by the 5 business owners who spoke. And the chair and the committee will guide on any other actions that they believe the DTIC should take in collaboration with the IDC and NAFCOC to address these issues. I thank you, Chair, and I hand over to the CEO. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, DG. Chairperson, honorable members, good morning. And I also extend greetings to NAFCOC and representatives that spoke this morning. The IDC welcomes this opportunity, Chair, to engage the committee on the matters raised in NAFCOC's submission. We do take note of the issues raised, and more importantly, we welcome the spirit of the engagement, which, as explained by the NAFCOC president, is really to foster engagement to jointly solution and not confrontation. And in that spirit, that's how I will frame my comments, Chair. And but before I do that, I just wanted to say that unfortunately we did not receive the presentation by NAFCOC in time. And therefore the cases that are presented today, while these are our clients or entities that we're doing business with, these were not shared with the IDC before the meeting today. We did subsequently receive the submission by asking directly. So, Chair, as I said, these are our clients, but I would not be able to go into deep details on these clients. But if asked, I am accompanied by our group legal counsel, Ms. Tsepo Legodi, our head of business turnaround and advisory services, Ms. Mpho Mosheu, and we also have on the call our head of marketing and communication. And we will be willing, Chair, to prepare a note on each of the case studies that have been shared to give you a full picture from our side or in any other structure that is proposed by the committee, should it be necessary to take this matter forward as suggested by the DG. Honorable Chair and members, this engagement must be grounded in a clear understanding of the operating reality and statutory responsibilities of the IDC. The IDC's strategy is underpinned by 2 inseparable objectives: development effectiveness and financial sustainability. These are not competing goals. They are mutually reinforcing, and they require for the IDC to remain a credible long-term instrument of industrial development. Chairperson and committee members, as you know, our funding model relies primarily on internally generated resources. And these are complemented by borrowings from the capital markets, which we then on lend or invest to our client to support industrialization and transformation. This model requires the IDC to maintain financial discipline, credibility with its lenders, and prudent risk management. When a significant portion of our funded clients enters distress and the IDC does not exercise its legal rights in a proportionate and timely manner, the corporation's non-performing loans and impairments increase. This directly undermines the IDC's ability to access affordable funding from capital markets, to preserve its balance sheet strength, and continue supporting new and existing developmental projects at scale. The IDC has therefore committed to keeping impairments and non-performing loans within acceptable thresholds, not as an end in itself, I must stress this, but to protect its long-term developmental objectives. Also, Chair, as a Schedule 2 state-owned entity, the IDC operates within a strictly legislated environment. It is subject to oversight by the Auditor General, compliance with the PFMA, adherence to BBBEE and transformation prescripts, and our own internal governance processes designed to ensure accountability, transparency, and lawful decision-making. This statutory and financial context does not diminish the importance of our goals, which are to increase developmental impact and to grow the economy. Rather, it defines the parameters within which the IDC must continuously balance developmental intent, risk, and sustainability. It is within this framework that the IDC approaches the issues raised by NAFCOC, recognizing the real impact of business distress on Black business, while also carrying a responsibility to safeguard the institution so that it can continue to serve future generations of entrepreneurs. Chairperson, honorable members, NAFCOC's submission makes a number of recommendations. We welcome these recommendations and the opportunity to address each one of them. But before that, let me just put a few points that have been raised in the letter to yourselves, just to indicate the relevant facts for this debate. The IDC transformation and support for Black industrialization support. As you would know, in 2025, our total transformation funding facilitated by the IDC stood at 26.6 billion, which was an increase from prior years, and funding allocated to Black industrialists in 2025 was 23.4 billion. We also ran a number of dedicated programs in partnerships with others, and those are targeted at township and rural industrial development, at women and youth focused. We also do women and youth focused funding initiatives. And one last fact I just want to pull out is that the IDC's distressed portfolio as is today, Chair, stands at 30 billion rand. The Black empowered South African entities represent about 34% of this distressed portfolio at 9 billion rand. Chairperson and honorable members, these figures demonstrate two realities at the same time. First, that transformation and Black industrialist support are core to the IDC's work. And second, that business distress, including among Black-owned firms, is a material and serious issue that warrants oversight, reflection, and continuous improvement on our side. And Chair, as I said, the cases that were shared with us today, we did not have sufficient time to go into detail with them, but I have just pulled notes from the teams as these were presented, and would just like to say that with regard to Brewster's Craft, the IDC acknowledges that the business was severely affected by implementation delays and the COVID-19 shock. The IDC initially condoned contractual breaches to allow the business to proceed, conducted site reviews, developed a phased support plan, and attempted creditor engagements to stabilize operations. When these efforts did not succeed, the matter transitioned to our recoveries department. Following renewed engagement, the IDC has since suspended litigation and reassigned a dedicated team to reassess interventions, demonstrating a willingness to re-engage where viable pathways exist. In the case of Makamisa Foods, the IDC's involvement extended over several years and included additional funding, grant support, engagement with multiple potential strategic partners, and coordination with other state institutions, as mentioned earlier, such as the Land Bank and DALRAT. Even after the business ceased operations, the IDC provided care and maintenance support. We have delayed legal escalation. We have assisted with rental payments to prevent immediate eviction. And we're now actively engaging anchor customers and co-funders to explore revival options. This reflects the ID's counter-cyclical role in supporting distressed but potentially viable businesses. Chair, the next one that I want to refer to is MM Engineering, and I have heard the submission from Ms. Manana Bohasu and what the ask is. What I would like to mention with regard to this one is that indeed the project experienced prolonged operational governance and compliance challenges despite multiple turnaround attempts and also the engagement with the OEMs. There was a forensic investigation that was done, which also uncovered irregularities. In this instance, business rescue processes were exhausted and liquidation is now being pursued through the course. While the outcome is regrettable, it underscores the IDC's responsibility to act where governance failures and concerns fundamentally undermine viability. In relation to Governor Africa, which, Chair, as you know, has attracted significant public attention, the IDC provided substantial financial support and engaged continuously with the stakeholders. When financial distress deepened, the company's board, as Mr. Musena said, initiated business rescue. And I really want to emphasize that the business rescue process in the case of Galvano was initiated by the company's board. A rescue plan supported by the majority of independent creditors recommended a sale process to preserve value under the circumstances. The IDC acted within the prescripts of the Companies Act and supported the outcome adopted through the statutory process. These cases illustrate an important reality that development finance institutions operate in an environment of risk, complexity, and imperfect outcomes. Not all investments succeed, unfortunately. However, they also highlight the need for ongoing reflection, the need for sequencing, communication, transparency, and post-investment support, particularly where transformation-linked support is at stake. Let me now turn to the recommendations, Chair, and I'll be very brief. The IDC welcomes the recommendations, as I said, and NAFCOC's call for increased oversight, which I believe the committee is already doing. And as we stand ready to always avail ourselves, Chair, whenever invited. But just to go into the restructuring, into the recommendations. On the recommendation of the restructuring first approach, I just want to clarify the IDC position. This, the IDC's framework already prioritizes these following steps. Proactive portfolio monitoring, meaning that as we sign up and approve facilities for a client, we proactively monitor the client. Where necessary, we do turnaround interventions and payment holidays, as alluded by some of our clients. And we also do provide working support for businesses that are in rescue, and also restructuring of the facilities. Legal enforcement only occurs where necessary. I must state this, particularly in cases where through our internal audit process, which is an independent wing of the IDC that looks at whether we follow and whether the IDC follows and adheres to its controls and frameworks and policies. So only where necessary, we will institute a fraud, and where there has been cases of fraud, governance failure, or clear non-viability. That's only when legal enforcement occurs. But what are we doing as the IDC? The IDC is strengthening our early warning indicators so that we are able to assess in time if a business is going to be in distress. We are increasing our turnaround and restructuring capacity, and also documentation and consistency of our restructuring decisions. Our post-investment and turnaround support, also the plan, as I said, without repeating, will include a stronger internal support. And also, we want to better coordinate with our core funders and also engage with the anchor customers, which our clients are servicing. The objective is earlier intervention, not crisis management. On the recommendation to establish an independent appeal structure, the IDC already has a formal internal appeals and escalation mechanism. As I said, we have internal audit, which is independent, but we also have a complaints team that receives complaints from clients, and those are then looked at. And we also have an appeals process. These are all internals. However, these are strengthened to to be more visible, more accessible to our clients, and we're looking at ways of making this more trusted by our clients. In fact, our board has asked me to explore the establishment of an independent complaints management panel with the requisite expertise. This panel will report directly to the board, and the corporation will soon get to work to explore how this can be done without undermining those institutions that have been set up by the government. And here I'm referring to the public protector, amongst others. And as I said, with regard to disposals, and disposals happened, Chairperson, post liquidations. The IDC, as I said, we are accepting the call for greater transparency when we do this asset disposal. And work is underway in the organization to improve reporting on our distressed portfolio outcomes, and those are reported through to our board. And also enhancing visibility of the size of entities most likely to go into distress so that we can see where the problem actually is, at what level do we need to increase our support through our business advisory departments. On proportionality and enforcement, here I would like to reiterate that enforcement decisions that are case specific and must comply with legal and fiduciary duties. However, the IDC recognizes the importance of proportionality at discretion, and where credible turnaround pathways exist, the IDC is committed to ensuring viable enterprises are not prematurely lost. And therefore, as I said, on some of the clients and some of the asks, we are looking at how to support and see if this can be turned around. Chairperson and honorable members, let me again be clear to say that there is zero tolerance for corruption, unethical conduct, or abuse of power within the corporation. This applies to all staff at all levels without exception. The IDC maintains an independent managed tip-off channel publicly available on our website, through which any member of the public, including our clients, employees, and suppliers, may report corruption, bribery, kickbacks, harassment, or conflict of interest, or any unethical treatment by the corporation. And all reports are taken seriously, investigated, and addressed where substantiated. As CEO, I also continually engage staff through internal communications and newsletters to reinforce this simple message that integrity must be at the core of what we do. Ethical conduct is not delegated. It's something that as leadership, I take responsibility for and enforce this message strongly within the organization. And we are soon going to be taking some steps to review our code of ethics to ensure that it reflects the values that the institution seeks to uphold, to ensure that it is enforceable and is supported by consistent, consequent management, as I said, where substantiated areas are found. And we are developing a formal ethics strategy and plan to embed integrity into our risk management, performance, and our organizational culture. In closing, Chair, the IDC is ready to listen. We are available to meet, and we are committed to work with NAFCOC. And I personally have met with the president of NAFCOC, and I do know that management has, and we have a structured engagement with them, and we will take guidance from the committee and as directed by the DG on the next steps. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there no additions maybe from your team that you might want to, so that we can have a constructive engagement? Because you indicated you've got a team. If there's anything they want to add, we can allow them another 5 minutes or so.
Let me check from the team, Tsepo and Mpo, if you have anything to add.
I see in Pomoswell here, nothing to add, covered. Thank you.
Okay. No,
Thank you, Chair.
very much.
Perhaps before I yield, can I just make one clarification?
Yes.
And that was with regard to the reference of Ms. Susan Mangole as a director of the IDC. Ms. Susan Mangole, as you know, works for the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition. She did serve as a board member of the IDC. However, she is not a member of staff, and now she has been replaced by Mr. Tebogo Magole. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that clarity. I will now open, Andrew, you assist me. I will now open for the members who wish to engage with the two presentations.
Okay, Mr. Mukutu raised his hand, Chair, so far.
Yes, I remember Mkutu.
Mr. Gama,
Member
Dr.
Gama.
Kigama.
Yes, in that order. Thank you very much.
No, thank you, Chair. And thank you to the leadership of NAFCOC for seeing it important that they use this platform of Parliament as an instrument to channel the issues and concerns that they have with the ITC. I think really it's in the spirit of ensuring that Parliament is a platform for the people, and it reconnects the work that Parliament does our communities and societies in general. So I think we want to applaud NAFCOC for having confidence in this committee that their issues can be heard, taken seriously, and actions might possibly come out of reaching out to this platform. I think, Chair, that is important to note. Chair, I've been having a general problem, and of course, I think the committee now is in agreement about how over time we've not been able to embed transformation in the workings of the ITC. And you see this technical response, the script that the CEO is reading in response to one not so technical matter, but also that needs strategic intervention. Because if you understand the history of South Africa, you would not be technical when you respond to some of these issues. Because the history of South Africa is correctly put by the leaders of NAFCOC is that there has been a systematic structural exclusion of Black people from enterprise. And that exclusion has been expressed and designed and embedded in institutions. And so the post-1994 democratic dispensation, all it seeks to do is to transform these institutions to reflect the demographics of South Africa in terms of participation, but also to address the systematic exclusion of the majority by the minority. And this means transforming the very institutions that have been used as instruments to perpetuate this exclusion. And ITC, for that matter, is one of those instruments that was designed to have a particular role. And that role, in the first place, was to industrialize South Africa, but also to drive development of enterprise among the Afrikaner group. And so, if you don't understand that history, you are just going to speak like the CEO that comes into an institution, a Velayingcebi institution, without understanding that the role, first and foremost, is to overhaul the strategic thinking of the institution so that it reflects and is consistent with the post-1994 democratic project of ensuring that it is able to facilitate transformation systematically by ensuring that it creates opportunity for those that have been previously, who are in fact still excluded. You see, so that's why the CEO reduces the matter by making reference to townships and rural areas, as if Black business must be confined to townships and rural areas. It's an insult. Actually, it irritates me all the time that Black business is always associated with being small, with being rural, with being township, with being informal. It's very irritating, that narrative. By the way, if you understand the evolution of townships in the history of Africa, you would know that townships were used as peripheral dormitories for cheap labor. It's not where people are supposed to be in the first instance. But there's this craze in government about, particularly when it's associated, you hear it in small business enterprises, you hear it with NEF, you hear it with ITC now, with the CEO. Just generally, you hear it generally in the institutions of government that Black business is just associated with rural areas, with townships, and with informal sector. And this really speaks about the thinking that we have about our own selves. Being a Black person in South Africa is really something that is taken for granted everywhere. And this shows, Chair, in the attitude and the response that the CEO has given to this committee. You know, Chair, I stay in the Eastern Cape. During December, I was a consultant of ITC. People drove from PE East London. They went to my village to see me during December. And they precisely have problems with NEF and ITC. There's one fellow which case I referred to ITC. I referred the case to ITC, and it's called, I think it's Ukusasa Green. They're facing the same problems. And the amount of ridicule embedded in the process, that people must send their personal bank accounts, they must do this, they must to be verified that really you need business rescue. You must send business statements of people that are sending you money, who are loaning you, you are just stripped naked. Just because you just need to make the point that I need serious intervention from ITC. And that, by the way, I don't think it happens to their white counterparts. Their white counterparts don't need to strip themselves naked to make a point for rescue. We said here when we arrived, Chair, and we never received that information. We said we're given statistics of businesses that are in business rescue, and we said we wanted to check the faces behind these people who are being rescued. And I can guarantee you now, Chair, that those people are going to be white, or they are going to be people that are associated and connected politically or with officials in the ITC space. This reinforces the view that some of the policies of the governing party, by the way, I'm an ANC member, some of the governing party are meant for an elite few. They serve those that are connected politically, and they don't trickle down to the people who are working day and night, waking up very early in the morning, trying to build businesses and build this economy and employ people in this economy. And we must take a very serious view. We must take a very serious view about the behavior of ITC when it comes to black business. It's anti-black. And this is not to say I've shifted away from the principles of my own party of non-racialism. But we continue to undermine anything that is black. We continue to kind of treat it with disdain in this country. And it's very irritating. And I think, Chair, we must be firm in making this point. And we must take a very serious, dim view with how the ITC has been treating black business in this country. And we're saying to NAFCOC, we're going, personally, I'm committing as a member of this committee that we're going to work hand in hand with you to transform this reactionary ITC that seeks to not only undermine yourselves, but continues to systematically work for those that have always been advantageous in the system pre-1994. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. Number two, Member Gama.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning to everyone. Good morning to the presenters from NAFCOC, presenters from the IDC. I think today is a very sad day. In my mind's eye, NAFCOC has raised an alarming and a very disturbing trend, and this trend has been established this morning in terms of how they have been ill-treated by the IDC. It raises issues of ethical conduct. It raises issues of a uniform approach. It would appear that there is an apparent third force that is aimed at demonizing Black business. The call by NAFCOC of a commission of inquiry, I think would be an important intervention. We've listened to some of the case studies. Some of these businesses did not want any financing from the IDC, but they were pursued and they were pestered. And then when they then allowed the IDC to come in, it then went about dismantling their businesses. It would appear to me that there is an invisible hand that was applied, aimed at demonizing these Black businesses. This trend is very, very disturbing. And I join in all the statements that have been made by the Honorable Mkutu. And I affirm the correctness of his approach, and I affirm the correctness of his analysis and assessment. I am very disappointed at the legalistic response by the CEO of the IDC at these matters, which is patently aimed at avoiding litigation rather than trying to deal with these issues. Of course, we will always support a risk management framework at IDC. Of course, we will always support proper governance. But today, the CEO tried to evade and avoid and not to own a trend that has been established by all of the presenters from NAFCOC. The IDC, we've raised some of these issues that since it started ISCO or ESCOM and other big industries in the past, it has failed dismally in the post-1994 period to incubate and to assist us in terms of coming up with sets of industries in the democratic era, sets of industries in the fourth and fifth industrial revolution. It has failed to come up with those, and it seems to want to relegate Black business to those entities in villages and townships, but also seeks to undermine transformation. The IDC, a Schedule 2 state-owned entity and DFI, should be raising its hand in terms of saying how it is going to move the people of this country, the entrepreneurs in this country, from the periphery to the center. But what they are trying to do, which has been established by NAFCOC and the case studies that have been brought about here, is to move our people back to the periphery to avoid redress. But also what they have done is nothing short of tormenting and torturing Black businesses. We as a committee, we will need to then, Chair, look at this with particularly very sharp eyes in terms of how we take this matter forward. And the issue of the Commission of Inquiry, as requested by NAFCOC, is fully supported.
Yes.
Honorable Dr. Pikaba.
Thank you, Chair. Chairperson, I welcome this platform and associate myself with the two previous speakers on this matter.
Chairman, how are you, Chairman? I'm good. Sure.
Chair,
No, because I was.
you
Sorry,
should
one second.
mute
Your
yourself.
mic, Chairman.
Apologies. Connor.
Thank you. Now, I was saying, Chairperson, I associate myself fully with the sentiments expressed by the two previous speakers. I'm equally aghast, not only at the submissions by NAFCOC, but also the responses that we received. I think the DG makes the statement that he recognizes the alleged bias and the need for a follow-on meeting with the minister and the department. But what seems to be a problem, DG, is that the fact that these issues have been raised in the manner they've come to us highlights a serious breakdown of stakeholder relations and management at the IDC level and between the IDC and the affected stakeholders. And I don't think that NAFCOC is oblivious to the regulated environment in which the IDC operates and any legal or corporate constraints and limitations it may also be operating under. Therefore, I think the response that has come from the side of the IDC affirms the status quo without addressing the two fundamental issues which NAFCOC has raised and which I think as this committee we've been raising ever since the commencement of the term of the 7th Parliament, which is the developmental mandate of the entities. And I think the first meeting we had in Cape Town with the IDC, we raised these issues very sharply. It would be necessary for the IDC to go back to the issues that we have raised with them so that they understand where our minds are at as the committee. Because the status quo like response to transformation we have already rejected as insufficient and unwelcome. So as we sit here, having listened to the issues we have listened to, once more to highlight one example where a company is being pressurized to take a loan, after which it is then not only watched as it collapses, but it's assisted to collapse, is a point which should worry all of us in the committee, especially given the stated policy of the 7th Parliament, which was reaffirmed by the President and in the State of the Nation address to support transformation. So we have to take a very hard view on these issues because, you know, without even undertaking a cursory investigation, it would seem that black business are being ill-treated. We do note what the IDC is doing in terms of future interventions, but the question that we sit with at this present stage is what do we do now? I also believe that had these companies not been black companies, there would long have been an intervention to rescue them and ensure that they are brought back to life. Whilst I support the need for a committee's inquiry, I would want to understand at what point did the communication and stakeholder management break down between the IDC and these companies, including with NAFCOC as the mother body representing them. I would want to know whether the ministry and the department have never intervened. I know that the DG indicated that the minister has met with NAFCOC. The minister has only been in office for about 2 years. So, but these issues predate the current administration. So, is there any record, DG, to your knowledge, that indicates whether there has been an attempt previously to intervene in these issues and to find a solution? If not, why? And what can be done in the same manner that we did when the issues of ISCO came to the fore, the steel industry? There was an immediate intervention. There were jobs that were going to be lost. We intervened quickly. There were steps taken to ensure that the industry is safe. But what has been the reason that these businesses have not been supported in the same manner that others have been previously? But all of that notwithstanding, I fully support that there should be the committee's inquiry into the matter, given the fact that we don't know sitting here whether these companies are the only ones affected in the manner that they are. We may just be dealing with excuse me again, Chair. We may just be dealing with a few companies, and there may be more companies that are affected in a similar manner. So I would support that those steps be taken. But I would like answers as to the two questions I've asked. Where did the relations break down between the IDC and these companies, including NAFCOC, and what interventions have been there previously between the administration and NAFCOC to resolve the issues which have been raised? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have further hands, Andre?
Mr. Thring, Chair.
Member Thring,
I'll give you the names, Chair. Mr. Thring, Mr. Mdluli, Mr. Mshingila, Ms. Motikatsi, Mr. Langa, and Mr. Musi.
Thank you, in that order. Mr. Thring.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, let me firstly appreciate the presentation from NAFCOC, as well as the inputs. I think very clearly it's certainly challenging and concerning to hear what some of the businesses have had to endure. Chair, while the IDC must certainly account for their failures, and I think my previous colleagues have mentioned the one outstanding allegation and failure, what appears to be on the IDC's side, is the pursuit of a business that didn't need any loans or grants, and then are pursued over a period of time, and appears that this pursuit seems to be a setup for failure. And I think that that's very concerning, particularly with regards to the mandate that the IDC actually has. And if these allegations that have been leveled against the IDC in the different case studies are proven true, and what we've heard from the different presenters from NAFCOC, if proven true, I think that consequence management has to follow. But having said that, Chair, I also think that we can never excuse, and listening also on the side of the IDC, there was some just very subtle responses in terms of governance and perhaps some governance failures. And I would like to state also, Chair, that we can never excuse poor governance, irregular or improper financial transactions, non-compliance with contractual obligations as exclusionary and anti-black or anti-poor, where there is proof that this is just poor governance and where there is improper financial conduct. So I think that we also have to be able to listen as well to what the IDC is saying. So in that regard, Chair, good governance is a neutral construct. It applies equally to all institutions, including the IDC as well as NAFCOC. And so, as I said, that if the case studies presented by NAFCOC are indeed concerning, and if true, it would then appear that these businesses were set up for failure. And in this regard, I would recommend that not only do we have that inquiry into the IDC conducting, how the IDC has been conducting their business, but also that the IDC gives a detailed response, because I don't think that the IDC indicated that they didn't have sufficient time to respond. And I think that perhaps we need to give them sufficient time to respond to those allegations raised by NAFCOC. But then, Chair, much like with the film industry in the previous meeting that we had, I think that it's going to be important for NAFCOC, IDC, and possibly other key stakeholders to sit around the table and lock horns, if necessary, around some pertinent issues and some key issues, and thrash out the challenges, knock heads if one has to, but at the end come to a solution in terms of how can we actually save businesses, and in the same way actually save jobs and grow the economy of our country. And I think that that's going to be important. But Chair, perhaps in closing, I think I would like to know what is, in terms of the recommendations, what is the IDC's response to the call for a moratorium on the aggressive enforcement asset seizures? So that's the one recommendation. If the IDC could just respond to that recommendation. Secondly, what is the effect of restructuring? I think it's the third recommendation, which is the effect of restructuring before foreclosure, and that speaks to the IDC's developmental recovery charter. What effect, if that were to put in place, what effect would that have on the IDC in terms of IDC's risk management plans? And then lastly, Chair, there has been a call for an independent appeals or complaint mechanism, mediation mechanism. The IDC has admitted that thus far, what they actually have is an internal process for complaints. The internal process for complaints, in my mind, Chair, very clearly cannot be independent. And I think that the sooner the IDC establishes, and this committee also needs to have the assurance that it indeed is an independent mechanism to deal with mediation, complaints, and appeals. I think the sooner we have that particular committee in place, or that particular mechanism in place, the better. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you,
Honorable
Chair.
Ndluli.
Thank you, Chair. So, no, it's very frustrating, Chair, and I think that I've been covered by the members that went before me. So I'm not going to go into my questions because I was very covered, but I do share the same, sentiments that this is very concerning and quite actually very frustrating as well. My colleague, Toby Chance here, Chair, is unable to unmute himself because he's currently hasn't no he's here he's not in a good space to unmute and chat, but he has sent me his question, and also he also does share the same view as the committee members, that this is frustrating, and he does share his sympathies with the guys that have presented this morning. So he has asked me to just ask this question on his behalf. So he would like to know if the NAFCOC have the stats on successful businesses who are NAFCOC members that have been funded by the IDC. He then goes on to say business failure is concerning, but the failure rate of SMEs is very high. So it would be interesting to have some stats on the proportion of businesses funded that fail versus those that succeed. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Welcome, Honorable Nchingila. We've missed you in the committee. I'm happy that you're back. Over to you. Member Nchingila.
Thanks, Chair. I think we have a problem with the system. I mean, listening to the State of the Nation address, the President did not even mention, even once, utter the word transformation. It's all about reforms, privatization, Operation Vulindlela, and investors that are not interested in building new industries, but they are in Transnet, ESCOM, and in our state-owned enterprises. So every economic system creates its own population. So we can't complain because government policies are about reforms, not transformation. So these economic reforms are the ones that are driving IDC and these other DFIs like NAF to adopt policies that are regressive to development. I mean, there was nothing on rural development and industry from the president himself. So we can lament all we like until we change the economic system, transform it so that it begins to speak, but also projects Black business, Black people, our aspirations, and everything. So I'm not surprised that all of this is happening. We've been saying it, that transformation, and nothing has happened. So we are here today. I mean, you can see the vision of the stalwart of, having to establish IDC in 1964. You can tell that their interest was to build Black industries and Black business, which has not materialized today. I mean, really, the democratic dispensation was not democratic because the majority is still suffering, and yet the economy is still controlled by those that I would not mention to avoid controversy. But honestly, government have failed and they continue to fail. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Member Nchingila. We wish you speedy recovery, my brother, and thank you for joining the meeting. Honorable Langa.
Thank you very much, Chair. And greetings to you, Chair, the DTIC led by the DG, NAFCOC leadership, and all presenters from Ms. Bogatsu to Mr. Mosena, the ITC led by the CEO, and honorable colleagues. A very sad morning indeed, Chair, of what we've just been exposed to as a committee of actually the ITC's attitude towards Black business. Maybe, Chair, in the interest of time, let me register that I've been covered by my colleagues from Honorable Mukutu to the past presenter, Honorable Nchingila. And let me also register that I'm in support of all the submissions by my colleagues. And also, Chair, maybe let me also take this opportunity to appreciate NAFCOC for their intervention in this instant. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Khoza. If I could ask the colleagues to take down their hands, those who have spoken already, unless they want to come back. Honorable Khoza.
Chair, may I speak since we are still waiting for Honorable Khoza?
Yes, you can come through, Honorable Musikatsi.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning to the leadership of NAFCOC.
Chair, I'm not sure if I'm audible.
Let me take this opportunity to appreciate the report as
Hello,
presented
Chair.
by NAFCOC.
Sorry, Honorable Musikatsi. Who's speaking now?
I'm not sure it's moved,
Mr.
Chair. I'm not
Khoza.
sure if I'm audible now. I think
Okay, can you just give us a second?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I had allowed someone to speak. You'll be next. Can you
All
just...
right, thanks, Chair. No problem.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Chairperson, for the opportunity. Let me also welcome the report by NAFCOC and also the presentation by IDC. But I must say, Chair, the presentation from NAFCOC was really disturbing based on the issues that they has been raising and concerns raising against IDC. Chair, according to the presentation made by NAFCOC, you can see that those projects of those cases that they raise with us, they are having a potential for growing. And if they could have been supported by the department, because they have also indicated that they have been writing letters to the department for a meeting, and the department only come after some time to them. So I also believe that if the department could have met them before they even come with this presentation, they would have been able to stretch out some of the issues that they has been raising in this meeting. I therefore also want to say that I support all the submissions made by the honorable members from our committee. The issue of the inquiry, I really support it, and also the other issues that has been raised to ensure that we support that we support NAFCOC, and we ensure that, because when listening to the presentation, they also indicate the loss of jobs from people that have been supporting their families. So I really propose that the department goes back and sit with them and end out all the issues that they have been raising and come back and report to the committee. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I will now allow Honorable Khoza to come in.
Thank you very much, Chair, and all members of the committee. Let us also firstly greet the NAFCOC leadership and also the the department, the DG, represented by the DG and the ITC. Chair, mine is quite brief. Firstly, I would say I've been covered by our honorable members who have engaged rigorously and vigorously and intense in terms of what becomes the issues that we're being confronted with. But Chair, briefly, I would say we are quite disturbed, if one could put it in that simple form. The fact that the CEO could just come and present absolutely nothing to the committee and hide behind sentiments of, one can term it as technicalities, because she just raised an issue that she received the presentation from NAFCOC a bit late. So my understanding is that the CEO came here, she came here unprepared, so she couldn't even say a thing. And unfortunately, even the DG couldn't even assist and try and rescue her from the mess that she's being put in, or she's subjecting herself to. In fact, Chair, I will have earlier on raised my hand to call an order to say there's absolutely no need for us to proceed with this presentation, because the CEO seemingly she doesn't have a clue of what NAFCOC is talking about. They are raising genuine issues. They are raising frustrations. They are raising the cries and battles that they are confronted with on a daily basis. Businesses are collapsing. Businesses are being liquidated. And seemingly, there is no leadership that is interested in coming to resolve these daily challenges that NAFCOC is facing. And to mention the least, they can't even correspond with them. They can't even listen to their issues. They can't even respond to the correspondences that are being brought forth by NAFCOC. Then it brings to our understanding that we have a serious internal crisis in the IDC. It's either, Chair, we also need to take it upon ourselves as the portfolio committee to put measures, or rather investigate if really do we have competent leadership in the IDC. Because surely from where I'm seated, we don't have leadership there. And by so saying, many businesses will collapse under the hands of the current leadership. So we need to also put measures to also try to understand if really do we have a leadership that will take these issues forward, because we might want to bring proposals to you, Chair, as to how best we think these issues can be resolved. But my question is, do we have the capable leadership that can take this crisis and resolve them? Otherwise, it will be just a lip service for us to call an institution to present to us. But if there's no leadership, there won't be any solution, Chair. And also, my understanding from what the CEO have just said, Chair, I think one other great challenge here, Chair, is that they don't have any mechanism to perhaps engage NAFCOC. They don't even understand what are the challenges. They don't even understand what are the expectations. Therefore, Chair, I would suggest briefly that can they get the presentation from NAFCOC, and also all those speakers who have just spoken earlier on today, can they put it in writing, send it back to the CEO and the leadership? Can they come back to respond to us as to what are the systems that they've put in place? Because they are coming here to behave as if this is something that happened last night. These are issues that have been happening for the past 5 years or so, but they come here unprepared, as if they were not aware as to what was supposed to be discussed and what are solutions that they've been put on the ground. So, Chair, my recommendation is just simple. Can this presentation from NAFCOC be taken back to them? And all those speakers from those different entities, can they put it in writing, send it back, and they must come back here, Chair. Give them a date to come back and resubmit as to what have they done to resolve this crisis. Because we're not just speaking of hand thumb issues here, Chair. We're speaking of businesses that are collapsing, businesses that are the backbones of our societies. We're speaking of jobs that are being lost every day. We're speaking of families that are collapsing, livelihoods that are being destroyed. And someone comes and say nothing here. We can't be disrespected like that. Thank you very much, Chair.
No, thank you very much, honorable members. I just want to appreciate the robust engagement from all political parties, but also to thank the presentation by NAFCOC, which has laid bare some of the issues that are being raised here. And DG, I also want to implore you and the CEO that by no means members of the committee are saying that there should be no governance. I think Member Tring captured it very, very well. There should be no good governance in the process. All what members are saying is that there seems to be something fundamentally that has gone wrong. And it might not be your creation because you might not be here, but in terms of the law, you're a successor in law. So we're talking to you in that capacity that there are issues that are being raised here at the platform, at the level of the committee. So members are making some suggestions in terms of what needs to happen, but also there's a very strong feeling that justice has not been done to elaborate extensively in the cases that have been brought here, because I think what NAFCOC leadership is saying is that they're giving us just 5 key examples from different periods to indicate that the treatment that they have received as a body have been the same, have been similar, and they're painting it different industry in the main. So I think it is justifiable that perhaps need to look into the presentation, go back at the level of the executive, because we are very clear about the separation of power role that we play as parliament. As you know, that the speaker came, this appeal came from the speaker's office for us to deal with. So we know that what is our role, what is our limitation, but members here, they've been raising quite a number of issues. So I think we will make some of the recommendation towards the end. But in terms of our own roles, DG and CFO, in terms of Rule 2271C, as a committee, we are empowered in law to monitor, to investigate, and to inquire into any recommendations that are concerning any organs of state. So it is within right, the call that is being made here, we'll try, obviously, in context when we summarize, to look into what are the possible things that we need to look at generally so that we can have a mechanism that will work on, assisted by the legal section of Parliament, to make sure that we can reach each other. But secondly, I think the remarks that were made by both the DG and the CEO outside of the script were very much welcomed, because they are reconciliatory. They are acknowledging that something might have gone wrong somewhere. So we do need to also factor that into account, that there is a willingness to immediately go back to the table to resolve some of the impasse that is there. Because when we resolve different, as you know, in this committee, we are interacting with everybody, from telecom sector to mining sector and so on and so on. We're interacting with everybody in the interest of ensuring that our economy is working and is working for all. So the issue of transformation is at the center of the work that we do. I think that the sentiment that was being expressed by all the members, starting with Member Mkotu, on issues of transformation, that we should not be second-guessed in terms of our oversight role on how we look into issues of transformation. These are the critical issues that are before us. I want to take this opportunity, DG and CEO, to allow you to respond to the things you can respond on, and perhaps to also make some of the proposals that you think, obviously you run institutions, you still have to go back and consult, that we can give as an assurance so that we are then able to make our final concluding remarks. Over to you, DG and the CEO.
Thank you very much, Chair. As is always the case, we always commit to revert to the committee in writing to answer as many and all of the questions in detail and within the timeframes that are provided for, and I will request the committee's indulgence, Chair, that we be allowed to do that as we continue right now to answer some of the questions. Chair, I do not wish to go into detail on individual cases, but I wish to place it on record that one of the participants in the meeting on the NAFCOC side, who did speak, received my attention as early as the 25th of March. I was 7 days in the office to assist them with challenges they were having with IDC. By the 3rd of April, they had come back to say, thank you very much with part of the assistance. The matter dragged on. There were further challenges. It is not that the DTIC does not intervene. Where we are informed, we intervene, we assist, we advise, and we make sure that companies are assisted. So I think the committee can be assured that we don't react because it's AMSA, we don't react because it's Tongat, we don't react because it's Goodyear, we react because it is a business that we have a mandate to sustain and ensure that it is economically productive, creates jobs, and contributes to the alleviation of poverty. And I think the sooner we accept that we are partners in the process, that we work together in resolving as many of these challenges with as little pain and in the shortest possible time, I think that will help us more, Chair, than not holding each other's hands in this regard. Chair, there were a couple of matters that were raised, and we will try, Chair, as I said, to avail all the information that the committee has asked for from the list of companies that have been under rescue. They're probably reviewing with IDC the trend of the disturbing trend that is referred to, and ensuring that all the issues that the committee has raised are addressed optimally. And where there is a need for consequence management using IDC's own internal processes, the CE and the board would have to undertake that and ensure that it is fully implemented. Chair, I would like to hand to the CEO to address some of the issues. And if I need to come back again, I will ask for your indulgence. But for now, may I please hand over to the CEO. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, DG. Thank you, Chair, and thank you to honorable members. Chair, let me start by acknowledging that the presentation that was shared this morning, we only received it this morning with you in committee. And that is why I said at the beginning that the cases that are being referred to are our clients, and we would have liked an opportunity to see what is being presented to be able to provide a response. So while I try to articulate this, I don't think that this is enough, and I do take the request for us to apply ourselves as the IDC to each one of the cases. So we will do that in writing, Chair. There are a number of questions that were raised by members, and as the DG has said, if you allow us, we will go and apply ourselves to this and respond in writing. And Chair, in the spirit of collaboration, I have taken into account the recommendations that NAFCOC has made. NAFCOC has come here to say they are not seeking redress, but they are seeking to build going forward. However, as I said, in instances where we find that there's been wrongdoing, we will take action. However, the recommendations that they've made, Chair, we would like to apply ourselves, but just picking up on one of them that I spoke to in my comments, and perhaps it didn't come out well, was on the recommendation to establish an independent panel to review complaints that come into the IDC, I did mention that, in fact, this is something that the board has asked management to explore an independent complaints management panel with the requisite skills. And this is something, Chair, I can commit that we are exploring, and even just to tighten the independence and most likely have it reported directly to the board. So this one already we are looking at. There are other suggestions that have been made by Mr. Tring, which we would like to go back to reflect on. And Chair, perhaps I can just ask, because most of these are things that we can come back in writing, Chair, if that is okay with you. And to say that I think the recommendation that has been made for us to avail ourselves at a later stage when we have responded to all these questions will be attended to. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I will now want to come back to the leadership of NAFCOC for their remarks as we move towards the closure.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. And honorable members, once again, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. And we welcome the responses from the honorable members of the committees, and hoping that we will work together going forward so that we can resolve these issues. One of our recommendations, Honorable Chair, spoke about redress. Because, some of the companies could be working by now. And we don't believe that they've been shut down because of their errors. So we must look into these issues and see how best we can redress wherever possible. The second issue, Chair, there was a question about the stats, and I wanted to later give to Khomotso, just to give you an idea, because we've done an extensive research again, after receiving all of this information, and we can share those stats with you. We'll share with you the research that we've done, especially of DFIs that are developmental in that nature. What is happening in the country, what is happening globally. We've done an extensive research, and we tell you that ITC is not performing well.
It's the worst on the planet.
The worst
in the world.
In the world. You see, we didn't want to come out as if it's an obvious attack or a confrontational process, but we wanted to say, let's talk. And I will appreciate if the CEO of ITC could just engage with NAFCOC, sit with us, with these business people around the table, so that we can address these issues. I can tell you, Chair, if we were to give you supporting documents from each business, you will understand why we had to take this decision. Because we believe that these businesses were not supposed to close down. We still stand by that. But having said that, Chair, let me hand over to Khomotso, and then I will hand over to the president after Khomotso just to do a comment. And then from there, we'll hear from you what is the way forward. Thank you very much, Chair. Khomotso, quickly.
I'll just give a few numbers. We have done an extensive statistical analysis of the litigation trends of the IDC versus business in general. We went back 20 years and we looked at the trends, and we can confirm that around 2020, the IDC accelerated, and in particular, action against Black business, contrary to the challenges that were faced globally. Our statistical analysis also shows that the enforcement action follows a pattern of employments first, whereas it's on a different computer. Yeah. Whereas the causality, as the CEO has mentioned, Black business accounts for only 30% of the impairment for So statistically, the IDC is punishing Black business for the faults of the other businesses that have faltered. Critically, Chair, our data shows without any question, apartheid businesses were given on average 14 years gestation period by the IDC. In 1950, there was a statement made in Parliament that the IDC should not have a profit motive in order to allow those businesses sufficient time to grow. Those businesses form the backbone of IDC's income today. So if you accumulate the revenue from the apartheid businesses vis-a-vis the losses that are accumulated post-apartheid, you then realize that the IDC's current revenue stream, it's thanks to the decisions that were made during apartheid, and IDC is not giving the new businesses post-apartheid the same gestation period. In fact, the gestation period post-apartheid is only 3 years. So the committee can look at those numbers. As NAFCOC, we will present all the statistics. You will see that on all the measures that count in terms of building an economy, the Industrial Development Corporation of South Africa fares by far worse than all DFIs on the planet. The committee can then decide how to proceed on that basis.
Thank you. Thank you, President. And the last comment from our side, and then we'll hand over to the portfolio chair to guide us. Yeah, sir.
Thank you, Chairperson. And honorable members of the portfolio committee responsible for trade,
It's done. That works. It's still there. Still there.
industry, and competition. Maybe what we should do, if the committee can allow me to just reflect on clarity and appreciation, that first we welcome the inputs, the engagement, constructive and very progressive by various members, and I've no doubt that this will find also their expression into their different manifestos. NAFCOC recognizes that strong institutions are actually indispensable to economic stability and transformation. We support fiscal discipline. We should not be misunderstood. We support the lawful recovery, but it must be done transparently and in terms of the requirement of the Constitution and empowerment legislation in the country. We support accountability. So that those are the things that we really do. But I must say, Chairperson, that development finance institutions must always remain developmental in method, in sequencing, and in their outcome. Because what we see today here does not really convince us that they do so. Remember, members, honorable members, if development finance institutions operate like commercial banking in terms of their recovery and anti-transformation, South Africa will never be able to build a sustainable class of Black industrialists. We will always cry for jobs because majority will not be participating in job creation. And the industrial capacity and the intellectual property that Black people are supposed to have, it will be a hollow dream. And therefore, transformation in its entirety will continue to be eroded. We are saying this, Chair, because we have already actually presented what we believe are recommendations, and we are happy that you are in the committee are embracing them. We therefore appear really not to be wanting to weaken institutions, but we want to strengthen them. That's why we are calling for collaboration, not to undermine development finance, but to safeguard its integrity. Because what will happen if a majority of our people millions and millions of them find displeasure from the DFIs, the victims becomes the parliament, the victims becomes the various political parties. So with those few words, we are obviously not protecting failure, but we protect productive potential. We thank this committee for the attention, the seriousness in which you have reflected on issues, and your constitutional duty to exercise oversight in the public interest. NAFCOC stands ready to collaborate and assist further as required. And I must say, because the SES just whispers to me to remind the committee that as we visit, which is our program, as we visit all provinces, we will not take forward the issue of a class case, because that was in our agenda, to say based on the cases, based on various cases, we might have to consider, a class case. But now that we have got a positive portfolio committee, we will shelve that for now, but advance Black excellence in whatever we do in the country, in the continent, and globally. We cannot fail if we work together. Thank you.
Thanks, President. Honorable Chair, let's hear from you, your guidance as to how we're going to go forward. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. Let me check from members in case there is, I don't want to close anyone out, in case someone wants to raise a point so that I can come to the concluding remarks. Honorable members? Okay.
There's no hands here.
No, thank you very much. I think, colleagues, firstly, the committee is concerned by the allegations that have been raised by NAFCOC, as well as the case studies that have been presented. And secondly, it appears that the IDC has not effectively embedded issues of transformation in its business processes and may need to reform how it provides financial and non-financial support, especially to Black businesses, I think, as a second point. And thirdly, I think we are persuaded and broadly we are agreeing that there is a need to initiate an inquiry regarding the IDC business practices in relation to economic transformation, as there may be a wider problem within the IDC. In this regard, we will invoke the Powers and Privileges Act, which allows us to summon any witnesses. And secondly, in terms of our own rules of engagement as a committee, Rule 2271C, which empowers us to monitor, investigate, and inquire and make recommendations. We will use those to pursue this particular point. And fourthly, there appear to be a breakdown in effective communication and stakeholder relations between the IDC and its customers. We welcome the proposition by the DG and the CEO to immediately and practically convene with NAFCOC and other stakeholders so that they can find amicable solution. And fifthly, and we think that the issues of stakeholder engagement will become critical in this regard. Lastly, so we are saying that there's a need for the IDC, NAFCOC, and other Black stakeholders to engage on challenges to deepen economic transformation and build robust manufacturing sector and broader economic participation by all. So these are the issues. We'll find a way, DG, to craft a communique to the department and the IDC after receiving the legal advice from Parliament in terms of how, on the nature and status of this inquiry, to deal with one aspect. The other aspect, the aspect of wrongdoing. The other aspect of ensuring that you can find each other, we implore that you have a mechanism in place of reporting back to Parliament with regard to the progress that you are making in just trying to find each other. And finally, I think all these we are saying not in the context of outside of corporate governance or good governance. We want everything to be above board. We want to ensure that we can hold the executive to account. We want to ensure that we also listen to the stakeholders who holds Parliament as an institution of last resort when they have problems, to ensure that we can raise their issues. And in all this, we are going to be fair, objective, and will consider all information available before us, and will continue ensuring that there's an ongoing engagement so that we can find a lasting solution with this regard. With those few moments, I'm not sure whether DG, you might want to say something so that we can effectively close the meeting.
Chair, thank you very much for the guidance. We will await the communique. We will compile the answers to all the questions. We will also avail ourselves for engagement with all stakeholders, as it were. And we thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. The meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you very much. Yes.
Chairperson, the meeting, this item is officially adjourned, but there's some committee business we may have to deal with, Chair.
Oh, yes. We are adjourning this particular section, so members will remain. We will request colleagues from NAFCOC and other colleagues who shouldn't be in the meeting so that we can proceed with the other business of the meeting. I forgot about that.
No problem, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chair.
We just allow the members.
Thank you. Yeah, if you can help us. Andrew, you indicate once everyone is gone.
We'll do so, Chair. I think, Chair, we may proceed as mostly members, Chair, on the platform and other PLO.
Okay. No, that's fine. The second item, colleagues, is around the changes to the committee program. I would like to request the administration to take us through.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, when we started the proceed committee this year, we indicated that the study tour will have to be postponed into April. That left a gap in our parliamentary program for the period 17th of March to 26th of March. And we received a request from you after we engaged with the automotive sector to schedule a oversight visit to the Eastern Cape from in place of that study tour that we would have undertaken. Chair, we asked us to submit an application, which we did, and we received approval from both the House Chairperson as well as the Chief Whip to undertake a study tour. If Morgan just share the draft program that we have, Chair, if you can take it to that, Chair.
Yes, please.
Chair, we will depart on the 16th, and members will depart from their respective constituencies or where they are staying based. On Tuesday, the 17th of March, we will depart the hotel to Kucha, SEZ, and we will be briefed by the DTIC, the Eastern Cape Department of Economic Development, Environmental Affairs and Tourism on the Kucha SEZ. We will also do site visits. Component manufacturers will be included in that. We will depart to OME's, Chair, and we will engage with Volkswagen in Uitenhage. I think Uitenhage has a new name. I think it's Courage. Margaret, what's the name? Tariga, yeah. Then on the 18th, Chair, we will visit AIDC Eastern Cape. We have an engagement with the AIDC Eastern Cape. And then we'll also do site visits, which will include the Supplier Development Hub. And then at 3 o'clock, we will depart to East London. To go down, Morgan? On the 19th, we will have a briefing with the DTIC again. And on the East London IDZ, we will have site visits at the IDZ as a Science and Technology Park. We will also visit component manufacturers. And on Friday, we will engage Mercedes-Benz. And then thereafter, members will leave. We are in the process of fine-tuning the program, Chair, but that's the basis of the program, and we'll provide more details of the entities and stakeholders we will be engaging as we engage with the Eastern Cape Economic Development Department. So that program goes unto the 20th of March, Chair. Then with the following week, Chair, we will also have continuous meetings, but that's on the program of the parliamentary, on the program of the committee, Chair. We thought to be important that we brief the committee on the oversight because we haven't had a discussion with that in the committee, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Any comments, members? As you are aware that the study tour has been moved to April, we will receive the feedback at a particular point. Once the team is ready, they're still working on the logistics. So we thought that instead of, because we had allocated this particular period, we'd rather do a local site visit to see, and then Eastern Cape is one province we have not gone, where there are two SEZ that are there, and some of the factories that are closing are in that particular province. Are there any comments?
Mr. Langa raised his hand, Chair.
Yes, Honorable Langa.
No, thank you very much, Chair. Maybe my one is to, Chair, register an apology in advance for the study tour. And the reasons being, Chair, I sit on two committees, which is DTIC and Public Service Administration. So when we had agreed on the dates, the initial dates, I was fine with those dates because they were not clashing with the PSA dates. And then only to find now that since the postponement, the dates for the DTIC are now clashing with the dates of the PSA. Actually, it's the same week. So now, because there is also, I think, budget or financial implications, I thought I registered this in the committee that my request should be excused. I thought maybe saying it now will assist in terms of the budget as well, because I had already committed with the PSA and they had already done their administration and budget work on the other side.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Is it to go to the Eastern Cape or our overseas trip?
The international study tour trip.
Okay.
I think it's the 18th to the 20 something. Yeah.
Okay.
So they are also going on the same.
I see.
On the same week. Yes, Chair.
Okay, no problem.
Yes. Thanks,
okay, we will note that. Any other hand? On Tabeka, we good. Thank you. Let's move to the third briefing to the committee, which is the report on the NLC chairperson. We've requested that it be, what is that thing when it's not on camera?
A closed session, Chair.
Yeah.
Yes, Chair.
Are we having that?
Yes, we will just.
Who's PMG? I see there's
we just in terms of the rules, because we're going to discuss matters that the POPI Act does require not to be shared. We will then have a closed session in terms of rules, and we'll remove anybody who's not a member from the platform, Chair. So let us just do that, Chair.
Let's do that.